Today we're going to see if we can take our blueberry meads that we made before and make them even better. So let's get started. Hey, this is Man-Made Mead. I did a video where I tested a bunch of different blueberry flavorings. And so you can go reference that video if you want to know how these are made. But I have 3 different blueberry meads here. They look very different because each one had a different flavor in it. This one right here, I made, it all had the base like mead recipe, but I put the different flavors in, I'll say that. So this one right here had Brewer's Best, which is just like a type of flavoring that doesn't have sugar in it. Anyways, I'm not gonna spoil a bunch about the other video. Then this one right here was real blueberries. I put 2 pounds of blueberries in. This one is Amoretti flavoring, blueberry flavoring, and I put, I think 1.4 ounces or something like that into there. My point is, all 3 of these finished fermenting. I conclusively came to the result that the Brewer's Best actually ended up giving the best blueberry flavoring, but now I want to go further. So we're gonna add some honey to these things. I would like to make them all better because while this one is quote the best, it's still not great. And I'll kind of describe here. I'll get a little taste test each one, and then I will describe what I'm tasting. This is the Brewer's Best. It's got a little bit of that floral side from the orange blossom honey I used. It's definitely fruity. The blueberry flavoring is a little more prominent, which is nice. You get more of the sweetness of the blueberry, kind of the ideal taste, but it's not necessarily the full sweetness, I think, of a mead. So that's kind of what I'm getting from this one. This is the real blueberry version. It's got a nice, got more of the sour side of the blueberry. It doesn't really have much sweetness from it. It's very dry. And I do think that some sweetness will help bolster actually the sweet side of the blueberry, as well as give us more of a mead-esque flavor. And this is the Amoretti. This is a mix between the two. It has some of the sour side of the blueberry as well as some of the sweet. You get the kind of ideal blueberry flavor. I don't get a lot of honey warmth or sweetness in general, which is something I'm missing. So I think if they were mixed together, they could, maybe appeal to be one great blueberry flavoring, but these do need a little bit of help. They're not bad by any means. They're just a little too dry for my taste. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add, to taste, honey to each one of these. And in a moment, I'll tell you exactly how much honey I added. And my hope is to create, or to make each one the best they can be. I should also mention one thing. These have been pasteurized. So this morning, I put them, all 3 of them, in my oven to heat up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And they sat there for about 20 minutes, which means basically the yeast stopped. They stopped I kind of fried the yeast so they can't eat any more sugars. Therefore, when I put this honey in, I don't have to worry about re-fermentation. So now you know, let me go ahead and put my honey in. All right, so I've added my honey in, and I've got some notes about this, about blueberry flavoring in general I want to share with you in a moment, but let me tell you my numbers. I put 1.5 ounces of orange blossom honey into this, 2.8 into the real version, and 1.6 into the Amoretti. As I'm taste testing these, while the real blueberry version in the previous test was not my favorite because it was really dry, it captured more of the sour side of the blueberry. Now that I've put some honey with it, the sweetness is not only, I realized something. I realized the sweetness helps to bolster that blueberry flavor for one. It allows you to get some sweet side of the blueberry and the tart. The big difference, or one of the big differences between all these, and I don't think I mentioned it in my previous video, is that the mouthfeel of each one of these is very different. When you use this Brewer's Best, because it is it's like a watery substance, it can make your mead feel very thin. So this thing feels pretty thin. The mouthfeel on the Amoretti gets a little gritty, and not necessarily in a great way. I mean, it's not not terrible or anything by that, but I can tell that this thing has a more full body. It is a little smoother, I would say. It doesn't have as much gritty taste, and I think that over time it will mellow out. It will kind of mature better. So I would still, even though my initial test, I said that the Brewer's Best was the one that emulated the blueberry flavor the best, I would still go with regular real blueberries. Could I have gone through and added more Amoretti flavoring, or Brewer's Best flavoring, or possibly even blueberries? Of course. However, I do feel like these have reached the good level of blueberry flavor. I just wanted more sweetness. So, hope that helps. Try using real blueberries. It's a little tricky. If you use them in the secondary, you might have greater results than I did, which, this isn't bad, but I do think that secondary fruit addition can sometimes give a better fruit flavor. So, now, I am going to put these away, and I'm gonna make sure that there's no more fermentation. I don't want them to, while I did pasteurize, and I'm 99% certain that they are not gonna re-ferment, I wanna make sure and watch that they don't. So I'll be putting them away. In a day or two, I'm gonna go ahead and bottle each one, and I believe I'm gonna label them like Blueberry Mead V1, V2, V3, something like that. So in the future, I can taste test them, and I can tell you guys, maybe a year down the road, which one actually matures the best. I think that'd be an interesting part of this. However, that will not be in this video because that's a long ways away. So I'll be back whenever it's time to bottle. I went ahead and bottled it off camera because it's a pretty simple process. I have a video about that if you really want to know how to do it, or just Google it. So in total, from each gallon, I got roughly about 7 or 8 bottles, including a wine bottle each. I have put a temporary label on here. It says just B, so blueberry, and then V1, V2, V3. So V1 is the Brewer's Best, V2 is the Amoretti, V3, version 3 is the real blueberry. I could have let these continue to age in the glass carboys, but the problem is I need to use them for other things in the future, so I am actually gonna let them bottle age instead of carboy age. It has been 3 months since I bottled these, and of course they've had time to age in the bottle, and we're gonna go ahead and taste them now. So after all of that honey and addition, let's see which one we prefer first. So this is the Amoretti, this is the Brewer's Best version. This is, whatever. This one right here is the Amoretti, and this one right here is the blueberry. So this is version 1, 2, and 3, as I've called them. They don't have real labels on here. That's okay. So let's start with the Brewer's Best. Ooh, yeah. The blueberry character is still popping. Definitely has some sweetness, which is nice. It's not as full-bodied, in my opinion. Like, that hasn't changed any. What I guess I'm really tasting for is that melding of flavors between the Brewer's Best and the honey. It doesn't, I think the body is what throws me off partially. It doesn't have much tannic value that like a true blueberry would add. So I'm kind of missing that. It's very like light. It doesn't feel, I think the lightness is nice in some ways during like a cool time, summertime, but what I'm really missing is that the body, the blueberry tannic value, and honestly the blueberry roundness. I'm only getting like a bright blueberry, and I want kind of like the dark blueberry. Let's go to the Amoretti now. This is the Amoretti version. Ooh, also, ooh. This one's aged a little differently. The blueberry flavoring is a little more tart than it is sweet. Doesn't have the tannic value, of course. It's missing that because we didn't use real blueberries. I think that's helpful. There is sweetness, of course, because we added honey to back sweeten. Very refreshing. It needs, I mean, it's definitely got a little more rounded character to me than the actual Brewer's Best. Like, this is more tart, but contrasting with the sweetness that you get from the honey, it kind of makes a more complete product. So that's kind of nice. Yeah, I mean, I'll be curious to see how this thing ages even further. Of course, I still have bottles, so I probably won't continue this test for another part of the video, but currently, both of these don't have a lot of body, and missing the tannic value. There's a coating of the mouth, but they both have different areas of the blueberry. This is a little bit more bright. This is very tart, a little bit darker. Let's try the actual Let's try the actual blueberry version now. Yeah, just the nose is different. It's ooh, yeah. That's very refreshing for one. I can definitely taste the different tannic values that I get from each one of these. It has more body for sure. It also has, I think, the beginning to end blueberry flavoring. So I think that, like, what I mean by that is it has tart, has sweetness, partially because of honey. It has bright notes and dark notes. I think that's kind of a perk of using real blueberries. And honestly, the nose on this is much more fruity. It has a more real earthy vibe much more earthy vibe than like these two. Yeah. I think while my first original test, my favorite was the Brewer's Best because of right out of the primary, the blueberry flavoring. I think long-term, best blueberry flavoring is gonna come from real blueberries. And of course, using honey to help accentuate the sweetness from blueberries, because oftentimes we get tartness and maybe some more mellow notes. You very rarely get a super sweet blueberry tasting mead without back sweetening. I mean, they're all pretty good. They hit different spectrums of the blueberry flavoring. Bright, which is not something I get a lot here. This is very bright, very like a little bit watery kind of, my opinion. This has more tart notes. The Amoretti has more tart notes. It does have some sweetness because of our honey we added and blueberry roundness more so. But this actual blueberries is created, in my opinion, the better of the meads in the long term. This is, again, 3 months later, so we've had some time to age and see how these have turned out. If I was to do this again, which I'll make more blueberry meads in the future, I will absolutely be using real blueberries. I think they add a truer fruit character to a mead than using these two products, even though Amoretti's a great company and they do lots of awesome things. And Brewer's Best also does lots of awesome things. I think it is hard to beat the real fruit sometimes, if you can do it. If you can't get a hold of blueberries or any other flavor, definitely go with an Amoretti or a Brewer's Best product. But if you can get a hold of apples and fruits and various other things, I would say go for it. So the blueberry, regular, real blueberry one wins in my opinion, long term. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something from this, and maybe you can go out and make a blueberry mead for yourself if you haven't done so. Now you have some data based on my opinion. My opinion is not the end of the world. I encourage you to go try things on your own, see if you like how some things have turned out, or if you like the Brewer's Best over the Amoretti or whatever. Go experiment in your own world, because my opinion is not the end all be all, nor is any other person's really. This is all about opinion. So thanks for watching. Hope you've had a great day, and hope you have a great day if you're watching this in the morning and you still have a lot of your day left. So have a good one, and see you next time. Cheers.